guys, my name is Aijalon Wallace. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys for continuing to support the channel. Make sure you subscribe and like this video for sure if you want to see more content like this. So I've been living in Australia for the last 5 years, and a lot of questions I've been getting is how did I get sponsored in Australia? I'm just going to give you my tips, my experience. I'm not going to give you a lot of facts, but I'm just going to let you guys know what I did to actually get sponsored, and hopefully it can help you out in your journey as well, just to give you a few ideas. Let's jump straight into it. So guys, if you know my story already, if you haven't checked out my video being black in Australia, please check out that video. But just to give you a brief summary, I moved to Sydney to get my master's degree, and once I graduated I decided to stay there and work. It was like battle. It was like one of the it was a big battle, a big journey, because so many students were competing to try to get sponsored. In my cohort it was maybe 100 to 150 students, and I was the only student in that year that got sponsored through my program to actually stay and work in Australia. Unfortunately, all the other students had to go back home, so I was an international student trying to get sponsored, and it was challenging. And the reason why was because a lot of people were aiming for the big companies like the Deloitte's, the EY, Westpac, all those big names, Commonwealth. Everyone was trying to go to the big companies, and it's kind of like you gotta ask yourself, sometimes when these companies are sponsoring you gotta ask yourself, like, what type of services or what of value will you actually be able to offer these type of big corporations? So I was like seeing it. I was seeing it happen. I was like, man, I'm not about to make those same mistakes, or I'm not about to get out here and just, I'm not about to waste my resume. I want to go where somebody's actually going to read my resume, where I'm actually going to be able to talk to the CEO or the owner of the company. So I was the only one in my cohort that was applying to small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses. And especially as an American, like if Americans are watching this video, I mean Americans or Brits or people from like Scotland or Ireland, if you're watching this video, you have a lot to stand out with. You gotta ask yourself, what are you good at? What are your skills? And what are most likely, what are some jobs that are gonna be able to sponsor you? I mean, guys, just make sure you do check out the skill visa list, and I'm not going in the order. I'm just talking to you guys. I'm gonna make this very casual, but make sure you check out the skill visa list to see like what type of things you can get sponsored for. I mean, there's like, I saw a locksmith on there and a barber. Like it was just crazy. It's crazy. It's so many things that you can get sponsored for in Australia if you have like the skills or the licenses. I had a strong sales background, and like maybe almost 70-80% in the market of like Australia are made up of like expats, recruiters from like the UK, America, Ireland, Scotland, and of course it's not that many black American recruiters in Australia, so it definitely did make me stand out, and it definitely did help me out in a lot of ways. So I guess, like I just going back, so I'm off topic, going back, I'm in my cohort, I'm at, you see it, it's my final semester, everybody's applying to the Big Four. I'm like, man, I'm not about to do that. I'm about to start looking for startups. I'm going to start looking for small to medium companies. And I started applying, and I started getting a lot of interviews. And I'm really good at interviewing, not to boost my ego, but I'm just very confident. You want to come off as very confident, very charismatic, and I wasn't really like, I didn't like have a stick up my ass. I was very down to earth, very, funny, cool. And, I think a lot of people just was like, man, I like this guy's energy, and this is like the type of energy that I want in the office. But it's also, I did have a lot of like work experience to back up my support for the type of roles I was applying to. So I did have a strong sales background, and also being that I was working in sales, you got to understand that you are something different, you are something niche on the market. So when I started doing like business development or reaching out to clients or going to client meetings, it was rare for them to see a black face or just hear that American accent over the phone. People actually do enjoy it throughout the day. One of the things that really helped me out, guys, I guess that really made me stand out for my job interviews, that I created a 30, 60, 90 day business plan. Now it wasn't fucking perfect, no it wasn't, but it was like my manager and my CEO, they looked at it like, man, this kid came in here with a 30, 60 day, 90 day business plan, and he don't even know anything about the business. I did my market research. I was just like, man, so I went to go apply for a recruitment job, and I just started doing my thorough research about what recruitment is. I didn't know what recruitment was, and I now work for myself. I have my own recruitment company, but I didn't know what it was. I did my research. I was like, all right, let me build my 30, 60 day, 90-day business plan model around this company. In the first 30 days, I'm going to learn. In the first 60 days, I'm going to build my network. In 90 days, I'm going to start making, deals, start getting people jobs, start making sales. And it was like, I think it was really impressive because nobody ever came to them with a 30, 60 day, 90-day business plan. And it wasn't just me like talking the talk. I was actually backing that shit up. It was like, man, this kid's already doing work before he got the job. So you gotta, put that legwork in depending on what you're gonna go into. Find your space and find your niche as well is most important. Look, try to understand if you guys are international students or you're coming over as backpackers or whatever, but understand if you do like study in Australia, make sure your program is a 2 to 4 year program. My program was a 1 year intensive master's program, and sadly enough, it really hurted me and a lot of other students because we didn't know that we wasn't going to be eligible for a lot of visas. So if you do have a student visa, or if you do have a master's degree or a degree period from Australia, you are potentially eligible for a management consultant visa as long as you can show that you have also some management consultant experiences as well. So there's a lot of visas that you can be, sponsored on. I got sponsored. I think it was the sponsorship visa. I don't know which number it is right now. I think I got sponsored through, I think it was like the generic or it was the sponsorship visa, and it was like it gave me 2 years to stay and work in the country, and then I was supposed to be eligible for PR. That was the process and the rules back maybe 2-3 years ago. And this is why, one of the reasons why I left Australia, but that'll be a whole nother video. But so the rules have changed depending on what you are going into. But so I got this visa, but I think I went through 3 interviews with this company, and I also was interviewing with other competitors. That does make you sound very attractive on the market. If you're like acing and killing your first round interview and your second interview stages, you're letting your clients know that you have final rounds with these companies, it does make you look more attractive to the organization. And to be honest, the job offer, the first job that sponsored me, I almost didn't go to them. I told them that, there was another company offering me more money. And, and you gotta, look, you have to understand, you gotta actually, Australia is very, very expensive. But also, it's like, man, you want to make sure you're like working with somebody that's gonna look out for you at the end of the day as well, if that makes sense. So I think I ended up going with this company because I just felt that they were more sincere, they were more genuine, and they were. I just felt like I was gonna learn a lot more from them, and I actually did end up learning a lot more from them. And the great thing about small companies, you are in a position where you are gonna wear a lot of multiple hats. So you're gonna learn a lot of new skills, and you're gonna learn a lot of new tasks for sure. So I mean, another thing that's very important is networking. Networking for sure. Networking every day. I mean, every time you come in or you interact with someone that's like a backpacker or who's an international student, you should be asking them questions like, what do you do? Where are you from? What visa are you on? I always was having these discussions. And if you're not the type, be hungry, be consistent. Like, if you partying, you should party.
This is your job. You want a clear conscience? Go start a charity. But if you want your own island and your boss says you got to go out there and take a beating, go out there, take it, come back to work and say, do you need me to do it again?
A lot of people go overseas to study abroad and they're like, oh, I'm not the partying type. You need to go out and network. Because there's so many jobs in Australia that you will be surprised that even sponsors people. So you need to network for sure, asking the right questions, making sure you ask the right questions and be hungry. I was like, literally, I like, for real, I was one of the only students in my program who was working because so many of my students in my college program were very well off. I was the only student working So by the time I graduated from my program, I had like 3 or 4 internships. I had interned at Volkswagen for the summer, a couple other stores I can't remember, Harvey Norman as well, worked there as well. So I mean, I was like really hustling, I was working, and that was something extremely rare because internships are not very common in Australia. It's a very American thing. Internships are not very common in Australia. So, you know, put the work in, network, and ask the right questions most importantly. A lot of people don't know this as well. So when I left my first sponsorship job, I joined a migration agency and became a contractor. Now, a lot of people may not know about this. So I became a contractor through a migration agency. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? So when you get sponsored in Australia, and this is why it's so important to make sure you understand that you're going to be okay and cool with what you're doing, and you're going to love what you're doing, because when you get sponsored in Australia, you're going to get sponsored under a certain field. So if you get sponsored in recruitment, most likely the only job that you can transfer to is recruitment or like a business development, whichever the equivalent is of the title. So you need to really know and really make sure, like, you know, really know and really make sure, like, this is what I want to do, because that was one of my biggest downfalls. It was like, man, I'm stuck. Even though I was good at recruitment, it was just like I'm stuck and I can't do nothing else. So it kind of almost makes you feel like a slave almost, man. So really make sure you know what you want to do. But when I left my first employer and I went to this migration company and they hired me as a contractor, it gave me so they outsourced me to another recruitment company as a contractor, and it gave me full freedom, you know, to quit my job whenever I wanted to, and also move around to different jobs. So the thing about, you know, if I haven't explained, I know I'm all over the place, but just to make sure I'm explaining it clearly, when you get sponsored with a company, you cannot transfer or leave that company. You can't just up and leave. I mean, you could, but it's risky, because most people don't leave until they have another job, because you have to transfer over your visa. So most people stay at their company until their visa is able to transfer. I always tell people this as well. Just hurry up and get sponsored, because once you get sponsored, it's very easy to transfer in visa. It's very common to jump around in Australia. Like in America, it's like 5-10 years. It's very common for people to leave their job within the first year or two. It's a cultural thing. It's very normal. I thought it was weird at first, but it's very normal. But I mean, going back to the PR, going back to the situation, when you get sponsored, of course, you have to wait for your other, let's just say you get another job offer, you have to wait for them to start the process of transferring over your visa. And you can't work for them until your visa has fully transferred over as well. So I remember, like, things were getting a little rocky at my job, my first job. It was getting a little rocky. I mean, I loved my first job. Everybody was family. That's the culture. You know, we went out to the bar every day, hung out on the weekends. We were family. But I was like, man, I'm a hustler and I got family. I got blood family to take care of, and I'm not making the money I thought I was going to be making here. So I made a move. And it was no hard feelings. It was nothing but love. I still talk to everybody for that company, but I was just like, I made a move. But when I made a move, it took me almost 7 or 8 months. It took almost, you know, because a lot was going on with the government at the time, for my visa to transfer over. Now, a lot of people don't think about that. Like, I mean, but this should give you a realistic, like a realistic time frame. It could take between 3 to 6 months for your visa to transfer, depending on the situation. When you do get sponsored, make sure it's something that you love or something you think you're gonna like, but also be ready. If it doesn't go how you thought it was, it may take you 3 to 6 months. You may be going through a shitty time, and it may take 3 to 6 months for you to even start working at your other job. So you're not going to quit your current job. You're just going to stay there, put your head down. And of course, you know, once the visa has transferred, that's when you're going to let your job know, pretty much, as long as you don't have like any like 3 or 6 month nothing. Most non-competes are like 2 weeks and stuff like that. Or most times your client just lets you leave immediately. So that's why, you know, my first job, when I tried to leave, it took me almost 7 to 8 months. So when I went to this migration company and got hired on as a contractor, I was just like, I don't ever want to feel trapped like that again. I just want to up and leave whenever I want to. And I did with the second job. When I decided to leave that company, I didn't have to give no notice. I didn't have to do anything. I just up and left. And I had other offers on the table as well, and you know, which was also good. So make sure, of course, you're doing your research. Look up the type of visas that you can get sponsored on. most importantly, the number one reason why so many people fail to get sponsored is because everybody wants to live in Sydney and everybody wants to live in Melbourne. Be open to moving around. You know, all I ever hear, a lot of people always say, I want to stay here, I want to stay in Australia, I want to stay in Australia. Australia is not just Sydney. Australia is not just Melbourne. You have Brisbane, you have Tasmania, you have so many places that you can go to. And like I said, just get sponsored. You know, your first year, if you're not feeling, you know, the locations you're at, you can transfer to another location. You can move to another city. But be open, because there's so many other jobs out there. You know, often people who are only searching in one area, in one location, in one field, in that, especially in one city, you're just limiting your options and you're not really putting yourself out there. You know what I mean? Of course, you know, appearance is everything. Australians do, you know, they do dress up. So of course you want to make sure you're suited and booted, or you're dressed, if you're, you know, a woman, you know, you're dressed professional. You know, definitely make sure you come correct, you know, because like I said, I talked about it in my last video, but I was very body conscious. I was very body conscious because everyone in Australia has like six packs and they look like, you know, it's like a fucking Baywatch film. To do that. Understand what are the expectations. What are the things you have to do to secure your sponsorship? A lot of people, they sit in through their interviews and they say, I'm looking for sponsorship, but they never ask what steps you got to take to get it. It makes you question and it makes you think about my situation. When I got my first job in Australia, like my first sponsorship job, there wasn't no guarantee that I was going to be sponsored. I had to put the work in. And I put the work in for 3 months straight, always. First one in, last one to leave. Always. Now, was I performing that well? No. But was the work being shown? Yes. You know, where the calls been made, where's the, you know, me doing all my tasks? Yes. Me coming to work early? Yes. And coming to work and leaving work late? Yes. My CEO, love my CEO to death. He came to work every day at, usually he was in the office, him and another business owner of the company, him and Kels, so him and another woman in the office. Usually they were in the office at 7 a.m. so I got there at 6. Like, you know, I got there at 6. And I mean, you know, man, like I said, I'm telling you, you may think your CEO or people are not looking, they're looking. Like my team, man, like I said, Australians, man, can be very laid back. Some people can, you know, really immerse themselves in the culture. There'll be people, I'm there at 6 a.m., I'm doing my research. My CEO, he hears me making calls at 7 a.m. Like this kid, he wants it. He hungry. He ain't just sitting around here. And, you know, so he saw that. And they saw me putting the work in. They just knew it was going to take time. But they saw the habits and the consistency. It would be people who would get to work. You know, we start working 9 o'clock. They get there at 9. I'm already in the office. So for like literally 3-4 months straight, I was in the office like 3 hours early and leaving 3 hours later. And they knew it. They could check. I had asked for 24-hour access to the building, and they gave it to me. And I think I was like me and another person, only person that had it. You know what I mean? So, you know, you're going to have to put that work in. It's no guarantee that you're going to get sponsored immediately when you join a company, but you're going to have to put that work in, but also make sure you manage and set those expectations. And if you don't feel like, I'm telling you, man, because I had a few friends, man, it's so sad, man. I had a few friends who joined some, I won't even put their names out there, who the companies were, but I probably, if you guys like Instagram me privately, I could tell you which ones they were. But it was some big companies out there that, you know, not like Big Four, but like just some big, you know, companies with big staff. They would hire people, and I saw situations where they have people working for 5-6 months and they just let them go. And now, sadly enough, that person just wasted, you know, 6 months of their time or 6 months of their working holiday. It could have been their first year, their second year, their final year. It was just some really dodgy, shady situations. So make sure you guys are managing your expectations. You actually telling the client what you're looking for, making sure they understand what you're looking for, and ask them. Like, it's okay for you to ask them, like, what do I have to do to get sponsored? And is it achievable? Like, can you show me how many people have you sponsored within the last 6 to 12 months? Look, the only reason I ask this is because I'm a little afraid, or I just want to make sure I do a good job. I really want this. I really want to stay here. I want to make it happen. And I'm saying sometimes, you know, so depending on the field and depending on the job, just make sure you're managing your expectations at the end of the day. Do understand when companies sponsor you, sadly enough, it's not up to them at how much they have to pay you. So when you start off on these nice high salaries, I think I started off at like $75,000, and remember, I was the only like international student to get sponsored that year. The students who were like Australian citizens in my program, they started off at like Deloitte and all those companies, they started off on like $50K. And you know, but I started off at $75K because when companies sponsor you, they have to pay you a certain minimum as well. So you gotta understand that that company is already taking a risk themselves. They're paying you a high salary, and you know, they're taking a chance on you. They're spending a lot of costs to train you, you know, give you supplies. So you got to understand that both sides are taking a chance. You know, I always recommend people get in there, work your butt off, and make it happen. Like, nothing is final until you actually see those papers, or you start seeing the process going. Nothing is final. Make sure you secure your spot, you know. And there were jobs and there were situations. I remember, like I told you guys, I was interning and working for a couple companies that was also offering sponsorship, but I just didn't think I was going to be successful at securing at these companies, so I just left. I didn't think it was realistic goals. I didn't think they were really achievable, and I was just like, this is not gonna do it for me. So I was quick to hurry up and move and find a company or find a job that was gonna do it for me. Pretty much, you will know, you will feel it, you will know. So I strongly advise you to intern, but most importantly, you guys have to network. You have to put yourself out there. Start talking to migration agents as well. You know, it's an easier process. If you guys know a good migration agent, I'll put somebody information below that you guys can network with and connect with. I'll put it below in the channel. But get you a migration agent, start talking to that person, make sure your resume is really good, start looking for recruiters in your space as well, start having those conversations. Because most people, man, I'm telling you, man, you get to Australia, a lot of backpackers or international students, they say, I don't know what I want to do, and I promise you, man, you get to Australia and you immediately fall in love with it, and you're like, man, okay, I want to stay. And I'm telling you, do it early. Because when you wait till the last minute, it's just going to make your life much harder. Do it early and make it happen. It's so many ways, there's so many loopholes, there's so many, ways for you to actually get sponsored. I mean, of course, the legitimate way, but of course, like I said, you have opportunities that can lead you to PR. You also have the boyfriend and girlfriend visa. I think it's called the facto visa. So if you fall in love with an Australian, after a year, as long as you guys can show proof, like pictures and stuff like that, you're eligible to just get on their visa, and that gives you automatic PR rights as well. So it's a lot of opportunities. Look, guys, I don't want to I so much I can talk about. If you guys think I missed out on something, or if you got more questions, comment below. Like this video, please, if you want to see more content like this. Can't wait to talk to you guys soon. Thank